Hello, we're going to give this a shot. This is a video recording showing you how to do these assignments because the next 2 days and probably 2 days next week we're going to be working on ionic bonds and covalent bond practice sheets. I want to show you how you can fill these out. Okay. If worse comes to worse, you can always do these by hand on your own paper. You don't have to rewrite everything, but just write the answers out. You'll see after doing a couple of examples, this is not too difficult to do. And then you can just take a picture of your own work on your paper and email the pictures to me. But hopefully this with Cami makes it easier. So under Google Class, when you click on the assignment, whoops, wrong one. When you click on the assignment and it opens, you have this appear. It says open with Cami. You click that and you get this. So it opens the doc with Cami, and over here you have a toolbar. And I'm going to show you the 3 things you can do. The drawing you can also write with, text box you can type, and of course eraser to go back over. So first I'm going to start with text box. And now let's get to the assignment itself. I'm gonna, oh, you can play with your fonts. So I'm gonna put a font of about 24. So you click that arrow, first click on text box, click on that. I'm gonna put 24. What you can do then, if you wanna answer this, is put in your answer and you're done. Then you come over here, click on it, and again, put your answer and you're done. And to do it, I'm just moving the mouse over and clicking over. Now, if it's not centered and perfect, if you just kind of scroll up, you can move that box around. Now it's where it should be. Now it's where it should be. All right, so I'm under text box 24, as that looks like. If it's too big or small, you can always change it if you like. You can even change the color. I don't mind if you do that. And here's our new text box and 1. So there we are. It's a tiny 1. So you might want to go back up. Let's go back to that 24. And I'm going to get my eraser and I'm going to, oh, yep, there we go. Eraser works. But what if the eraser didn't work? You can also come right over here to it. And once you click on it, you see that red X? Clicking that erases it. So I'm going to come over here, red X. I'm going to click on it. It's gone. It's gone. But the answers were there and you were done with this, you'd be able to save it and those answers would actually stay there and you could turn that in and all this would be filled in and it wouldn't be in handwriting, it'd be all in text. But you don't have to use text. You won't be able to use text in this part of the worksheet because you're going to need to write it and this is hard. I take that back. You know what? You probably could. I'll just leave that to you. But let's just say, write the symbols for each element. Okay. Sodium I found out was Na. There we go. Another text box. Cl for chlorine. I'm going to move each of these now by clicking on it and then dragging it. Okay. And it says draw a Lewis dot structure. So here's where you come over here, click on drawing. I'm going to get a thick one, number 6. And I know sodium just has 1. And chlorine has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So 2, 4, 5, 6, 7. So there we go. One of the sides of chlorine is missing 1. And so there. Now I've done the Lewis dot structure for the valence shell. Draw an arrow if needed. I'm going to come over here from 6. That's too thick. I'm going to make it back to 2. I'm going to draw an arrow because I know this electron goes here. And I'm going to just go boop, boop. I'm using my mouse pad. Now, if you have a touch screen, you can use your finger to do this at this point. That's my finger right there. Just drew an 8. Don't need that finger there. It's probably harder to get this small with your finger than it would be just to. So I erased it, coming back to drawing. So there, I've drew the symbol sodium, I did the symbol chlorine, I showed the Lewis dot structure, and I drew an arrow to where it would go. I'm going to explain all this again. I'm just showing you the Cami. And so I drew the arrow where it would go, write the charges. So again, I think it'd be easier just to draw, but if you want to go ahead and you click back up on text box. And again, just click on the page a couple times, sometimes needed. And again, in A, and I'm going to put a plus. And then I'm going to click again. I'm going to put a CL. I'm going to, oops, that should be a lowercase l. I'm going to put a negative. Now I did the negative just by using my keyboard. I did the shift and plus key. Your phone would have that as well. And then I just put a negative. That's it. Now, this is not the complete Lewis dot. I'll show you that again in a little bit, but this is one thing you could do then. Now write the resulting formula, one positive, one negative. The text box again, NaCl. We've just finished example A. Okay, so this is what you will do. Now, I'm going to do all that again, but I was just showing you how you can click on text box, click anywhere on the page, and you can type in there. And oh, I didn't mean to do that. There you go. Click that red X, or you can even erase it over here. Okay, so that's what I'm going to do right now, actually. I'm going to erase all this because we're going to start again. And this will take a little bit of practice. This is the first time I'm doing it, but I did play around with it just before. I'm going to stay on drawing and 2. Although for pen lines, I mean, maybe you want 1, it just depends. But everything's just a click away over here. Okay. All right. So now let's go ahead and get to the lesson itself. What the sheet is ionic bonds practice. Ionic bonds are bonds, that is a chemical reaction. Something's going to occur between 2 different elements, 2 or more different elements. So I'm going to blow this up real quick. I wanted to show you the title there, Ionic Bonds Practice. So fill in the missing information on the chart. You've seen questions like this on quizzes. You'll see more of them. So given the periodic table, which you'll need for this exercise, you'll be able to tell the number of protons, number of electrons, number of valence electrons. You have to be patient. You don't have this table memorized, and so it's going to take you a little while to hunt and find these elements, right? That was fun. You see that? I just got to play around, and now I can erase. So sodium. Let's just say an amount of time has passed, la-dee-dee, la-dee-da. I'm looking for an S. Eventually I find out, excuse me, that there is no S sodium, but that sodium is right here. Sodium, at last, Na. Now, I'll give you a hint, okay? These are going to be ionic bonds. Again, that means there's going to be a metal. Oh, what happened to my drawing? Oh, it's not in Chemi. There's going to be a metal, which is on this side, bound to a non-metal, which is on this side over here. So I would first look somewhere over here, sometimes maybe in here, but I believe all the ones I'll pick will be right in here. And if it's a non-metal one, the second, then it's going to be these over here. Okay, that's what ionic bond is, one from each side of the periodic table. So I found sodium, and just to review, what's the number of protons for sodium? Well, to know, all I have to do is look at the atomic number. I see its sodium is 11. So I'm going to come over here and write 1, 1, 11. How many electrons? Again, use information you've already learned that electrons equals protons. So again, 11. Okay. And you can probably get down to doing a better job than me here. I just want to get those out. Whoops, I erased the whole thing. Okay. Well, I'll do it again. 11. And then number of valence electrons. Now that you have to recall. Valence is referring to what? The outermost shell that goes around it. And that's in part how this is arranged. Remember this 1, 2, skip a few, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So sodium is in the first group right here. So that means it has 1 valence electron. So I'm going to put the number 1. This will be the most important column on the sheet to answering the questions down here. I'll do one more with you. Chlorine, since that's what we're going to deal with down here. So chlorine, I'm going to come back over to my periodic table. And again, ho-dee-do, la-dee-dee. You spent probably 2 minutes looking, and you'll find it right over here, number 17. Okay, some of you might already be used to find these, but it's right over here on the far right in group 7. chlorine? I see its atomic number 17, so that tells me what? 17 protons. And then number of electrons, we know typically has to equal the number of protons. So once again, 1, 7, 17. Number of valence electrons, ooh. Okay, so 2 in the inner, then 8, that makes 10, and then 7. Don't forget, group 7, chlorine, then all we have to do is come over here and put 7. You don't really have to draw those models anymore if you remember that the groups that they belong in, all group 1 have 1 valence, all group 2 have 2 valence, all group 3 over here have 3 valence. We use the A, remember. All group 4 have 4 valence electrons. Group 5 has 5 valence electrons. Group 6 has 6 valence electrons. Group 7 has 7 valence electrons. Group 8 has all 8, and therefore they are the noble gases. They do not interact. They are boring. Okay, so that's what you're going to do. Fill in the rest of this chart. Let's come down. Steps are right here. Don't forget this, okay? I'm going to switch this. No, I'll keep it. So for each of the following ionic bonds, so there's going to be a bond that happens between these two atoms. Write the symbol for each element. Again, you've hunted for sodium and you've already found it, and you know now that it's right here in A. So I'm going to put in, and this is where you might say, I think I'll just use the text box, and you may, in A. And then chlorine is Cl. I'm going to put that right here. C and L. Okay, I'm going to raise my thing to 6 because that's how I was able to put those dots earlier. So now I've written the symbols for each element, and that's all you do, NaCl. So now you're going to draw the Lewis dot structure for the valence shell of each element. Okay, so if you don't know what that is, remember you wrote the number of valence shells up here. So we know sodium has 1, so I'm just going to put the 1 dot. And chlorine has 7. So I got to put 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Now I did this rather conveniently. I know that this one should have been placed first, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh. But just like a basketball doesn't have a true left or right or top or bottom, okay, all we did, let's just say, is we rotated that chlorine so that the one we would normally leave open would have been on the right-hand side according to our rules for writing Lewis dot structures. We just went ahead and put it on this side. And for the sake of this assignment, this is what I would do. So what I'm showing you here is that there is an open spot. Okay, let me erase that. Maybe. There we are. All right, so there's an open spot. I'm going to go back to my number 1. Have we written the elements? Yes. Have we drew the electron dot structures? Yes. 1 and 7. Okay, recalling the octet rule says it wants to be full. For sodium, that's to have all 8. And chlorine, that's to have all 8. Sodium is far from it. As a matter of fact, sodium is right here. So if it dropped, it would still have 2 rings. It would need 8. So this electron is going to go where? Right there. Okay, and that's what I want you to do. I want you to leave that picture just like that. So you're showing me that this electron is going to be transferred. This chlorine is so electronegative. It really wants that electron, and it's going to pull it over. That electron will transfer. So what happens? Now you've drawn the arrow or more, in this case only 1 arrow, to show the transfer. Now write the charges on the ions. Don't write it on this picture. Go ahead and do it like this. So you have your sodium. I'm going to do my best here. This is going to take a moment. And chlorine. Ooh, I wrote cursive. All right. So now I'm going to come back, make this a 6. And again, now I have my 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The 1 I got from here, 6. And then the 2 I had, 7, 8. Now I have this extra electron. That means because of the extra electron, I'm going to have a negative charge. Whoa, that's real fast. Sodium also has now, it's fallen to having only 2 shells, and that second one also has its 8. But because it lost that outer valence, now it's happy, and this one's happy. However, it's going to have a positive charge. You're going to have a lot of fun with this. So there we are. That's it. If this was too confusing doing the sodium, I don't mind if you just do the in a positive and the Cl. Wow, that's terrible. Negative. Okay. But down here is where I want you to write then the following. So for every positive, there is a negative. Every negative is a positive. That means we're in a 1-to-1 ratio. This will be a nice bond, and you can again draw this in here in a, and it's going to be right next to it. We're nice and close because we're saying that this is now a reaction. See over here, I wrote it way over here and way over here. If it's just as easy, maybe. There we go. And then you can just move that into there. That might have been quicker. So we'll see. But that's the end of that problem. Okay. So again, you're going to fill in this table according to the periodic table, atomic number, and remembering all our rules that electrons equal protons and valence shells. We fill them up from the 2 in the innermost outer, or you can just look and see what group it's in, 1, 2, 3, 4. I'll be available for questions on Zoom session. If you're not sure how to do this, this is a 4-page document. I'm going to try to separate it into 2 pages, but these first 2 pages are the ionic bonds. Okay, you're going to hit a little bit of issue right here. Be creative and know that it might be more than 1 electron. Okay, so it's draw an arrow. Check this out. Or more if needed. Okay, or more. This one won't be done till as soon as Thursday, but most likely Monday, okay? Covalent bond practice. So don't worry about this page. It's very similar, but we're going to do this one later because that is covalent bonds. And we're not going to do those yet. All right. So at that point, you can save your work right up here. Click Save. And then you may name it by Ionic Bonds Practice, the date and your name, and submit it by email or through Google Classroom. Thank you very much. I hope that helped.